Hello, thank you for coming so early. I'd like to talk with you about something that always was a huge problem for me. When a developer, especially indie game developer, wants to publish his game that he has already made, then one of biggest question is how expensive or how cheap it should be, or another question is if we have already enough content, or maybe we should add one more lever or something. And then what we do? We go to our friends, business colleagues, to the forums, to the publisher, and ask questions, how expensive or cheap should this game be? And then we receive answers. And the issue is that 19% of these answers are usually bullshit. It's like one person will tell you that no, you should go cheaper. If you will go cheaper, then more people will buy it. It works like that. And in many and other people will tell you opposite. I tried to collect lots of data on this topic, and I hope to give you something that I consider as useful tools to solve these problems. But let's start with who I am to tell you about that. My name is Kris, and I'm a game developer. I've started game development like more than 10 years ago, and I've started with the most fabulous game engine that human being could imagine, Adobe Flash. After making all this content that you see on the webs, if you don't use AdBlock, well, after a few years, I've discovered that there is a better word called Unity, and thanks God we started to make real games. First I was working alone, then I hired a few friends, and right now I'm with a happy team of 30 developers, which is totally awesome, and I see some of them here, so thank you guys. And after making lots of games that were, well, great experiences, but didn't bring too much money, we have made House Flipper, which occurred to be huge success. I mean, it sold like more than 900,000 copies on Steam already. So for indie studio, as it is game that costs $20, it was like from here to here, basically. It's like life changer. And then during last year, we were working on DLC to that game, which was Garden Flipper. And thanks to our great community, we have released it like a week ago, and it already has more than, I suppose, 50,000 copies sold. So it's, again, huge success, especially considering the fact that it is only DLC, and still it was on #1 of top sellers, global top sellers on Steam, despite the fact that there were lots of AAA titles published then. So I'm really proud of it. But our story starts earlier. Story I want to tell you starts a few years earlier, when I have received this review. Don't waste your time. Don't waste your money. Don't waste your time. Seriously, this game is pathetic. Quite harsh, right? And let's look at it. How much time this guy has wasted? We can read it. 400 hours. Yes, that's quite substantial, right? And well, if this is time he wasted, how much money cost this game? Yep. Well, and the thing is that this is not a bad game. I mean, people like it. It has positive reviews, but it is totally addictive, unfortunately, and many people, after substantial time, I mean, this is screenshots from Steam. Someone has played 3,000 300 hours, so like 2 years of full-time job playing game, and then he decided that no, I don't recommend it. It was no, I've wasted this half of my life. So, and then I start to think, how the hell can it be? Is it like because when I, from a person from game dev, talk with someone normal, I mean outsider, then usually I hear some bad things about the games, like you know, I believe that kids waste too much time with games. They play all the time, and I started to think, what the hell? There are short games, right? There are on market games that you play for 2 hours. Game that start, has end, and basically great experience between start and end, right? And let's look at example of such a game. If you could play the first video. With sound, please.
But as it is, I think the best we can do is try to open our eyes. And appreciate how strange and brief all of this is. That any of us ever had a chance to be here at all. This is where your story begins. Maybe it sounds like I had a plan, but I had no idea where all this was gonna lead.
My present, thank you. So, what remains of Edith Finch? Fantastic game, released by Annapurna. It costs like $20. And it is totally fabulous. It is amazing, beautiful, great experience. I mean, for some people it is sad game, for another it's just really fun, for another it's only experience, not a game maybe, or like movie, or you can tell a lot. But it is basically great game. It is normal price game, and it takes like 2 hours from start to finish it. So basically, for a person who just plays the main story, it's like 2 hours. For person who, I don't know what extras are in case of this game, but basically for person who is completionist, so want every single thing have to 100%, every mission, every hidden treasure, secret found, it still is like 3 hours of gameplay for $20 game. So yeah, I already knew that it is possible to make such games that people don't waste a lot of time to pay for this game and are happy. And I've tried to find out what this is, why which games can be like that, which cannot. And to have data, I've needed some data about playtime, and it was some time ago available at Steam, but unfortunately it was cut off. But I have found this amazing website, howlongtobeat.com, and this is cool. This is full community driven, and you have information for average playtime for main story plus extras, which means DLCs basically here, and completionist. And you can, for lots of games, you can just check average playtime. So I had this data. It's not so pleasant for me format as I love Excel. But then I thought, I'm a programmer, maybe I can write scrapper to get this data. And also I needed something more, because there are lots of indie titles that basically never sell. And I was not interested in that. I was interested in games that are basically well-selling. So then I've written also scrapper for Steam top sellers, because this is what I do. And the result is that I was able to connect this data with titles and with top sellers, and I have a result which I'm happy to share with you. Links will be on last slide, so you can make photo now, you can look later, but basically there I have many examples of game with their price, with playtime, and I've made additional content column for you also. And what is it? It is basically percentage difference between main playtime and completionist playtime. So basically, if average user plays 2 hours, but completionist can play additional 1 hour, it is 50% more, which is the last column. It's useful. Okay, let's go further. Another example of game. Also released by Annapurna. Have you ever dreamed about being flowers petal and flying through the wind? I didn't neither, but this game sells well, so I decided to show it. Basically, it's one of simplest game I can imagine. Like it's a game when you are this part of flower and you fly, and then you can hit another flowers, and other petals are flying after you. And then you make grass greener, and it's like a strange experience, but it's cool. It's cheap, at least. It's like $7, which is quite extraordinary price on Steam, by the way. But then well, it's another short game with a different price, and it sells well also. So I've started. Oh, and the gameplay is like 2 hours. For completionist, it is 5 hours. I know exactly what does it mean. I also didn't find out that you need to press A to have boost. Without the boost, this game is nightmare. But let's go further. Why this game is $7? How they have picked the price? How can we pick random price on Steam? What is possible? Well, we have some limitations. We have this 40 possible prices on Steam, and that's it. And well, let's start with why they look like this. You know this trick with .99, right? Everyone knows it. That if you see $9.99, then you look at it and see less than 10. But there are some new research done by American scientists, which shows that actually, if you have a price $34, it looks for average person as bigger than $39, because there are many people, various people on Steam. Some are really young, some are really old, and some just doesn't know numbers very well. I suppose that if someone sees $9.99, then he sees instant feedback, it's promotion, it's promotional price. So even if some price is lower actually, then it seems that for many people it's basically $9.99 is instant signal to buy something for some crazy reason. And I have proved that it actually works on Steam. Because there were some prices that are without this 9, like 2, 3, or 17. You know, I believe a year ago there were few fantastic, amazing games for every amazing days for every game researcher, because thanks to that bug on Steam, there was exploit which allowed us to check exact amount of owners of particular game. It was based on achievements. Some of you I see that some of you remember that days, and I've used this data to check how much earned average game with particular price on Steam. So basically, it looks like If you release the game for $15, then it's quite cool. It's better to release on average bigger games with higher prices, but going somewhere in between 15 and 20 seems like totally crazy idea, which will bring you despair and not bring you any money. Yeah, it's like basically rule of thumb is if you can have 0 on end of your price, then let's do it. If no, then $5 or $50 are also kind of all right. But then we go to another question: how to pick the price? Because it's easy if you choose between 17 and 20. You just look at the chart and knows, okay, let's go higher in this or lower, but don't go in between. But what if we don't know price at all? We don't know if it should cost 10 or 30. There will be some tools I've shown within minutes, but first I'd like to talk about some myths that was created in our community. And first of such myth is that indie games should be cheaper, or that $30 is too expensive for a game. And it reminds me one of my colleagues who is here with us, and Maciek was on GDC and in America, and he was showing us this fantastic presentation about how GDC looked like and also how America looked like. And I remember when he told us that he ordered a steak, and he told that he paid for it $30. And my question was it good? Was it worth it? And then he looked at me. Nothing is worth $30. And you know, for many of us, it's like $30 for a game. No, it's too high. It's too high for an indie game. But please keep in mind that if you release on Steam, then your primary market is USA. And USA is a country where you can pay $30 for this. And another thing, for some crazy reason I don't understand, people believe that indie games should be cheaper because they are indie. Why people in other business doesn't look at it? You remember yesterday's parties. Some of you remember, I suppose. There was a lot of free beer, right? Some of us like beer, and I like beer personally. And crafted beer is even better. And I suppose that crafted is kind of indie, right? It's done by small home manufacturer or something. Why crafting beer is not cheaper than normal beer? Because it's niche. And if we have small niche, then it needs to be same price or more expensive, because they would wouldn't work basically. Same with music. If we for some crazy reason are not using Spotify and want to buy CD of indie band, it will not be cheaper because it is indie. It will be same price because it is music you like, and it should be the same with the game. Another thing, another reason to don't go too low is sales. Everyone loves sales on Steam, and if you do the sale like, if you have normal price like 10, 20, 30, $60 and make 80% discount, people will go crazy. If you have $1 price and do 90% discount, what will happen? First, nobody will notice. Second, you will earn close to nothing. And next thing, what if your game is success? We had this success with House Flipper, right? Before releasing it, I've asked our investor, which is Playway, great publisher. I've asked them about suggested price, and they told that they usually rather go lower because they believe that more people will buy it, etc. And it was, well, I was thinking about it, but basically we were thinking about 50 and 20, and it was obvious to me that if we have enough content to make $20 game, then we want to do that. But then, 1 year later, we released DLC, and apparently everyone expects that DLC will be at least cheaper and hopefully more than half cheaper than full game. So please imagine that you release game for $10 and it is huge success, and then you want to do a DLC. You will not be able to choose the price. You will need to go lower, basically. So thank God we have great community, and when someone told that the price is crazy, it should be free, it is another part of the game and we already paid for the game, then we had more than plenty people to say that no, that they just were working hard another year on it and they deserve to be paid for it. So yeah, it's another thing that you should consider. The higher price, the longer lifetime of the game. Obviously, if you want to just release something small and don't develop it, I wouldn't go too high. Okay, so now, how to choose our baseline? How to choose our base price? I've shown you this table with games, their prices, and playtime. Let's look at the chart showing us what is average amount of gameplay for particular price. This is based on 100 top seller on games that were in 100 global top sellers on Steam during last half year, and have time data. So we are only talking about something that starts, finished, and has story in between. So basically, if you have a game that is shorter than 10 hours, then going $10 seems nice idea, but if you can go longer, if it is about 14 hours, then $20 is okay. And with more, let's call it AAA titles, I suppose that having something that takes 25 hours for $40 is also nice. I suppose that you may not memorize all this chart, so let's do a rough approximation and let's calculate what is average price for 1 hour of gameplay. And I've calculated it, and I have something that I decided to call the Gabe number, or Gabe factor maybe. And it is $1.7 per hour. Obviously, it's like normal gameplay. It's not for completionists. For completionists, it's like we have different numbers. Average completionist plays like 3 times more for usual game. So you have another chart in presentation if you'd like to check if you had other data for your game. And then let's come to the fun part. Is there any type of game that is better for a longer game or only for shorter? Like, you know, I was looking at the biggest exceptions from this number. I've tried to find if there is any genre that does it or any tag for Steam games that doesn't fit this number at all. And yes, there are some, and I'd like to talk about these exceptions because it's fun. For example, the biggest exception I found on beginning was fishing games. Basically, making short, quick, dynamic fishing game seems really stupid idea. But for long games, I'll explain this table first. We have tag. So on Steam, tag is basically a feature of the game that the user could imagine. It had like 300 tags Steam has. And tag can be RPG, but it can be also female protagonist or 4-player co-op local or something like that. So it's easy to search for. And I have 3 columns. First column is how big % of top-selling games with this tag are long. So longer than 50 hours. Another column, how big % of best-selling games with particular tag are short, and difference between these 2 columns to find out if there is a kind of game that you shouldn't make short. And apparently RPG is top one, which seems quite logical. I mean, if you make a game with character development, if you can create this person and evolve him or extend his skills in a particular way, you want to feel connected with him. And making such a game for 2 hours seems like breaking friendship with our new friend, basically. No one likes killing his friends, right? Also, open world, story which atmospheric games should be probably longer. I mean, always there are some exceptions, but on average, if you make open world or make really detailed history, then you want to have time for player to know it. Is there any type of game that you shouldn't at all make long? Yeah, I believe so. And these games are zero-sum games. Zero-sum game is a game when you win only when someone loses. You lose only when somebody wins. It's like playing a fighting game. It is not like you will win and he will win and everyone is happy. What is wrong with this type of games? You know, if you make such a game and it is really long, as we did, then there will be some players who plays a lot, and then there come a newbie to the server, and he fights with him, and he beats him to the shit. And what such player will think? He will not think. He will write something like this: developers have taken action against me and have made all my players, it was football game, extremely bad. Devs have control to the players' hidden statistics and have made all my players terrible, with average ratings dropping into the low fives because of this negative review. You know, I was one of the developers of this game, and this guy is crazy. I mean, really, after this comment, we thought that it was really nice idea to lower his players' stats, but we never ever have done something like this because it would be extremely stupid, right? And we don't have time for playing like this. We want to make games and not make somebody's life disaster. But basically, if you play 500 hours in a game and then someone comes to the server, pick random stuff and kills you basically, or wins with you, then you rarely think that you are bad. You will blame somebody else. What is good for short games? Surprisingly, most of indie games are rather short than long. Yeah, it's quite clear. But interesting thing is that, for example, a multiplayer or local co-op or player versus player, local multiplayer, these tags go really well with short games. And for a reason. Basically, if you have multiplayer game, then it is logical that you can have fun with your friends and don't care about story so much. You care about interaction with others. And interesting fact is, realistic and pixel art, they are really close to each other. It seems strange because they look as opposites, but really they have one common factor. They are expensive as hell. Pixel art seems really cheap first, but it is not. Really, trust me. I've been there. It's nightmare. If you make something in pixel art, then you want to reuse it, then everything looks nice, you scale it, and it looks really bad. You try to rotate it, it looks like shit. You need to redo everything, and it takes lots of time. So basically, if you want to have really nice pixel graphics or really nice realistic graphics, then it will be expensive, time-consuming, and it's better to make short game with such features, basically. I strongly recommend it. And when another exception, this is fun. It is not mentioned on this table because you remember we are talking about top sellers, and there are some genres that don't have much top sellers, and such exception is VR. If you could.
usage. Version 7.43.
These games have something in common. You can actually
Vehicle selected.
Our previous agents were, well, less than successful. You'll surely be faced with increasingly deadly situations. To be perfectly honest, and with all due condolences, I expect you to die.
It's time to go home!
Yeah, I'm gonna have to ask you to come in on
Saturday.
What do these games have in common? First of all, I like this. I like them. They are all quite cool. It's important, really. Another thing, it's like each one of these is relatively expensive. They are from $20, I mean $19.99, to $30. And the last thing is they are extremely short. The top one, I mean, if I write here 2 to 5 hours, it doesn't mean that average player means 2 to 5 plays 2 to 5 hours. It means that normal player, average player will play this first number, and completionist will play for 4 hours. So basically, for most of us, these games are 1 up to 3 hours long and cost like $20 to $30. And it is totally cool, because you know, it's a VR game. If you play too long, you will vomit, right? And yeah, and another thing is that you just want to try it. You want to be this Batman. I mean, Batman is a nice example because it is like 1 hour. I mean, really, watching its trailers on Steam takes only 20 times shorter time than playing this game, right? 2 minutes trailers, 60 minutes game, 30 actually. Okay, and well, but same time it's all right because this genre it's just nicer to play VR games for short. And to be honest, VR is like porn here basically. You would expect some plot in it, but it is not why you play it, right? So for VR games, we get for all top sellers, I mean 100 top sellers in VR genre, we have 4 hours for average player, 8 hours for completionist. It is median. There are some much longer games, but really not much. Like car racing games can be longer, but usual games are pretty short. And the Gabe number here is $2.9 per hour, which is significant. And then I've figured out that there must be another examples of such games, and I've made basically spreadsheet for you with average price for each tag. But instead of showing you this spreadsheet, I decided to make a short video showing the tag price, average price per hour, and example of game. So basically, we'll play next video, and when you see example of game, it is not like this game. This particular game is $1 per hour or $3 per hour. It's like this games with this tag have such average rating. If you could play the last video. So puzzle platformers are usually 107% more expensive, so twice more expensive.
Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. The last stack is quite interesting. The short game. I mean, you may make especially intentionally short title, and then basically people looking at the game page and seeing that it is even marked by author as a short game, they know what to do. So to sum up, if you choose price, then your base thing you care at first should be amount of playtime average, and it is like $1.7 per hour on Steam is something normal. Then you should probably round it up to a number that have 0 on the end. So is divisible, you know what I mean by 5 or by 10. And then there are some tags that are really nice, fit well short games, and summary of such tags you have on spreadsheet. The second link. The first link is another data that if you would like to basically check my resources here, and if you are like me, that you like Excel and want to think and find something that fits your needs, then it should be helpful. If you have any questions, please just mail me. Thanks a lot for your time.
Thank you. We also have still some time for questions, so if you have something right now, there's a mic, right?
Hello? Yeah,
Hey.
it's working. All right. Thank you for the talk. I actually missed like the first part, so I wanted to ask, how do you measure the game's length? Do you use Steve achievements for that, or you just like gather average playtime? Because there are madmen who replay Dark Messiah of Might and Magic every day. Yeah, you had that.
Let me show you.
Thank you.
No, it's all right. There is first I done as you said. So I basically took time for Steam Spy from Steam, but then I found this amazing website which is basically doesn't have an API, so I needed to scrap it. But I'm a developer, so I've written Scrapper to extract this data. I hope authors of this website will not watch this presentation, and I hope it's legal. But thanks, guys. It is cool if you are here.
Thank you.
Right, any more?
Hi, do you guys consider going to mobile market with your products? If yes, then what would be your pricing approach on mobile market? If no, then why not?
No, because I am a strange guy who believes that people shouldn't play on mobile, because I believe that people play on mobile in public places and in public places like here, there are so much nicer things to do. I mean, I totally understand and appreciate that people are creating lots of mobile games, but I've made aware decision that I want my company make only titles for Steam or consoles, titles that are basically for someone who wants to see it, watch the game on a huge monitor and won't dive into this game. Thanks for question.
So hello, thank you for the talk. I've got a question. How about hype factor? So when it is worth to take a risk to make your prize even bigger, based on the community? You know, the community is hyped, and you think, okay, maybe we can go even bigger, even higher.
You know, this is all about risk, and I have one fantastic quote about risk, which basically changed my life, and this quote is, in reality, there is no such thing like safety. Life can be adventure or can be painful, but basically safety doesn't exist. It's always illusion. Basically, it's if you feel that you can go higher, then usually it's worth. But basically, we are in a market when risk is everything, and there is no single game that you can say for 100% that you know that it will be huge success. So basically, you are taking the risk if you want, or if you don't want it. It doesn't matter. So basically, it's your decision if you want to make some more risk. In recent years, I remember only one game that was indie and cost $60. And I remember that there was article about it on Steam Spy. Unfortunately, I don't remember the game, but it was so amazing for people that Steam Spy started to write articles about it. So yeah, it worked then. So hopefully it will work for you also. So yeah, it is usually worth to take risk. I hope it answers your question. Do we have any more questions?
That's the last one, all right?
Yeah, thank you for the talk. Actually, I'm developing one game, and I was thinking it would be okay to send you an email with the pitch, so you could make some comment on it.
Sorry, this guy is my employee.
Hey.
Cheater. Do anyone have serious question for Ant, or? Okay.
Maybe that's the end of the serious questions.
Okay.
Right.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Thank you very much, Krzysztof.